Hey, it's Josiah Novak, and welcome to the True Transformation Podcast, the top fitness podcast for men who want to get ripped, naturally boost testosterone levels, and use fitness as a tool to not only look and feel better, but improve all areas of life in the process. Welcome to the show. Buckle up. Life moves fast. Let's make it count. So let's talk about how to get more protein in your diet. I get it. It doesn't always come easy, but I'm going to start off by just saying that if there's anything you're trying to improve in your diet, in your workout plan, and your just day-to-day lifestyle, you have to actually plan things out. So when people say I'm having trouble getting enough protein, I say, show me your plan. And usually they say, well, I don't really have a plan, or I kind of haphazardly put together some kind of random game plan that doesn't get me enough protein. Usually what's happening here is you're trying to guess your way to results, and that's leading to frustration because you're not hitting the target as often or ever. And I get it. So what I want to do for you today is help you map out, most importantly, how to plan out getting enough protein. Once you get this part done, getting enough protein becomes as simple as you want it to be without thinking twice about it. So let's start with where you're going to get your protein from. What sources of protein do you need to have to make sure that you're hitting your protein goal? Well, I would say it's good to have a couple things on hand that make your protein intake easier to hit. Number one would be a protein powder. I'm not going to jump right into supplementation as your first line of defense, but it is a good idea just to have as a backup, just in case you aren't able to get enough protein from whole natural foods, which I'll just tell you right off the bat, like I rarely get all of my protein from meats, eggs, and natural sources. Usually I include at least one protein shake a day. Now you can get the powder, which you can mix into things. You can mix with water, milk, or whatever. And that's one really good thing to have on hand. The other really good thing to have on hand is these ready to drink protein shakes. There's a lot of different ones out there. There's vegan versions. There's whey protein versions. The ones I use are from a company called Core Power, and they either have, I believe, 26 grams of protein per or up to 42 grams of protein per shake. I have a bunch in my fridge. It's literally grab and go, and I include one in my daily plan. So we got to start planning out the sources of protein that we're going to utilize, and that boils down to having a set meal strategy. You could call it a meal plan, whatever you want to call it. It's just knowing where you're going to eat, what you're going to eat. So if you're eating at home, you want to make protein the star of the show at each one of your meals. So for example, if you're a breakfast person and you're eating breakfast, you would have eggs, as one of the stars of your show, or egg whites, or you could do Canadian bacon. If you're someone who's crazy and likes to eat meat in the morning, which I'm not that way, I prefer to wait, you could do ground beef, you could do chicken, but having your protein sources at each meal is crucial. If you're eating out, you need to know what are the higher protein meals that are available to you at restaurants. Most restaurants cater to people trying to eat healthier, trying to get more protein in. And if they don't, you can always ask for protein sources to be added to your meals, or you can double up on the source. Like if you're going to Chipotle, you could ask for double steak, double chicken. If you're at a restaurant, you could ask for 2 orders of shrimp. These are all really good protein sources. So what it will come down to is looking at your meal plan and saying, okay, I'm getting enough protein at each meal. If your goal is 150 grams of protein and you eat 3 times a day, well, you could get 50 grams of protein 3 times a day, or you could get a little bit more at a couple meals and then have like a lighter protein meal. But it's good to plan this out visually, literally write it down on paper or put it on your phone so that you're just following a roadmap. It's like back in the day when we didn't have these smartphones and we had to print out MapQuest directions. I know I had to do that numerous times to get places. And so you'd print it out, you'd look at it, and you start to visualize the journey to your destination. This is what you got to do with your protein. You got to literally write it out and say, okay, at breakfast, I'm going to have eggs. I'm going to have 3 eggs. And then I'm going to have a half a cup of egg whites. And then at lunch, I'm going to have 8 ounces of chicken with whatever. At dinner, I'm going to have 8 ounces of beef or 8 ounces of salmon. And then I'm going to add, a little bit of cheese. I'm going to add a little bit of Greek yogurt. I'm going to add a protein shake. And all of a sudden, you're blowing out your protein goal, which comes from proper planning and execution on that plan. The other thing we got to do is stop following this excuse of like, I can't get enough protein. Stop saying that, because all you're doing is reinforcing bad habits. If you keep thinking, I can't get enough protein, I can't get enough protein, you're not going to get enough protein. If you're constantly looking for an excuse, then it's going to make it harder to buckle down and say, what do I need to do to hit enough protein? What are the key things I need to have in my day to make sure I get enough protein? Where do I need to be to make sure that I'm not under protein by the end of the day? If you're dead serious about making a change to how you eat and how you look and feel, getting more protein in your nutrition plan is a vital part of the puzzle. You don't need to eat buckets of grilled chicken or 5 protein shakes a day. You could go higher in protein if it's something you prefer. If you just naturally enjoy eating more and more protein, that's totally fine. But you just don't need to get sucked into this whole idea that all you should be eating is protein and vegetables, right? Like that's a little extreme, and honestly will lead to real big time frustration, because it will be very difficult to get enormous amounts of protein. So I'll walk through a couple strategies that will add protein to your day without really even you thinking about it. Number one is Greek yogurt. So specifically non-fat or low-fat Greek yogurt. This stuff is made up of mostly protein. You can create dips and sauces with it. You can have it by itself with some fruit. It's a great addition to your meal plan. So if you're not already including Greek yogurt, I would strongly suggest adding it to your day. The other one is cottage cheese. There's a hack here. So I know cottage cheese by itself looks kind of gross, at least to me. Maybe you love it, and you also love psychotic things like running in 100-degree weather or something like that. No, I'm kidding. But ultimately, cottage cheese oftentimes looks kind of gross to a lot of people. So what I do is I take the cottage cheese, and usually I'm getting non-fat or just low-fat cottage cheese, and I'll dump it in one of these little Ninja blenders. Dump it right out of the container into the Ninja blender, blend it for 15, 20 seconds. It turns into a real creamy, like it almost looks identical to yogurt, to be honest. Then I dump it back in the container. Now you have like a real creamy yogurt looking sauce type of substance, and you can add it to things like anything that requires sauce. So like you can mix it with a little bit of marinara sauce, and all of a sudden you have a high protein Italian style dressing. You can mix it with ranch seasoning. You could do it just inside of like eggs. So that's a good one. Mix a few eggs with some low-fat cottage cheese and then frying that up into an omelet. Cottage cheese is mostly protein too. The other thing you can add is non-fat cheese. Now, I know it doesn't taste as great as the high-fat stuff, but zero-fat cheese, so fat-free cheese, is basically all protein. I think there's like a half gram of carbs, but it's 99% protein, which makes life super easy. It's always a good idea too to have some sources that are basically all protein. White fish like cod and tilapia, those are all protein. Shrimp is all protein. There's no fat, no carbs. A super lean grilled chicken is virtually all protein. Might be a gram or two of fat, very low fat. Non-fat Greek yogurt has a little bit of carbs, but a ton of protein. Egg whites, all protein. So these are sources that, like, in a pinch, if you're like, man, I just need 20 grams of protein, cool. Just throw in 3 ounces of grilled chicken or 3 ounces of shrimp, and you're going to hit your 20 grams of protein. Whey protein, they might have a gram or two of carbs, gram or two of fat, but you mix that up with some low calorie almond milk, and all of a sudden it's basically all protein. This is how you get there though, right? You literally start to think through your day and say, visually, where am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? How much am I going to eat? Write it down and follow it. The only way to hit your protein is to actually hit your protein. All right. So I hope these tips helped, and I hope it made a lot of sense, and I hope it simplified how to get more protein in your diet. It will require going to the grocery store, getting some of these items. If you eat out, picking the high protein items, knowing how much protein is in these meals. And if you're wondering, like, how much protein should I be getting? Well, I'll wrap that up. I'll wrap this podcast with telling you. So I think that about a gram per pound of goal body weight is a really good target for protein. So if you're trying to lose weight and you're 250 pounds and you want to be 200 pounds, getting at least 200 grams of protein a day, and yes, you can eat more if you want, is a good starting point. I think you can build on that. You can get more over time. If you're male or female, the rules still apply. You need about 0.8 grams per lean body mass, but I don't know too many people walking around with an exact calculation of how much lean body mass they carry. You could figure it out with some math, but just getting a gram of protein per pound of goal body weight is a good starting point. You can eat more, but I would suggest starting there so that you don't get bogged down and stressed out about it. Start there, write down how much protein you need to get, then write down, okay, here's the meals I'm going to eat. How much protein do I need to get at each meal? Boom, measure your food or buy food that's already pre-measured and hit your protein goal. It's really that simple. All right. Hope this helped and talk to you on the next one. Life moves fast. Make it count. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the True Transformation podcast.
Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Come back next time.